Okay, so what you didn't tell me was how you got involved. That's the part of the story that we don't have right now. Yeah.
Okay. Oh God. When we opened the location we're at now, 1982, Good Friday.
Yeah.
And it was interesting as that whole week, my uncle pushed and said, no one's going home, no one's going to sleep until we get this place done because we're opening Friday. So it was like around the clock, right? Well, I'm 11 years old.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm in 7th grade, actually 6th or 7th grade. And my mom got really sick. And she was, now it's like outpatient surgery, but at the time it was a bigger deal. It was like a type of surgery she had. So my brothers had to go, me and my brother John had to start going to work. And so we were here with my dad, and we just never stopped.
Bro, family tradition.
Just never stopped, really. Worked here in the dining room, worked in the crab tanks, worked in the kitchen, dishwash, fish market. We basically had worked here our whole lives. I left for a while, went to college. My dad was like, please go to college and do something else. So I did. I worked in banking. I worked in insurance. I actually opened my own restaurant at one point. Kicked my ass pretty hard.
Really?
But ultimately, I just kept coming back here. I'd take what I learned and come back, take what I learned and come back. And then, you know, my dad's sister, one of my dad's sisters, passed away really unexpectedly. And she was handling all the finances, and we didn't really know what she was doing. My sister and I had to kind of jump in and figure it out. And I realized that working in insurance, working in banking, and working in my own restaurant, I had a unique understanding of the administrative accounting part of the business. So I was able to come in and make some changes, improve things, streamline them, and that kind of changed the trajectory of the business, I think. So I started getting into retail, creating like our retail line and our frozen meals. And
that's your brainchild?
Yeah. It's like we're not taking advantage of social media. Yeah. You know, we started to create a line of frozen products that were based on this. That's hard though. It's not really our game. So we haven't been pushing too hard on that. We can ship these trays fresh anywhere in the country, but I think we're going to get away from that and just focus on the spices and showing people how to make it their own by buying the spice.
And be like the Lowry's almost, if you will,
that's
like
what we're kind of thinking. Like I think we have a pretty unique flavor profile and a pretty big following.
Who came up with the spice mixes?
One of our employees. So we had instructed our kitchen staff to create a product that was similar and that would kind of have a Cajun feel but be unique. Yeah. And after a bunch of tries, we finally all approved of one, and then it just took off. And we've actually tweaked it a lot over the years. This is a totally different configuration than what we started with.
Yeah, but you have to, whatever you're going to bottle up.
It's hard to scale depending on the product profile, because getting the seasoning, they come from all over the world, and you have to be able to buy enough. And we've gotten so big and so busy. Like when we created the frozen meal, that was a real challenge because we were trying to figure out, well, how much spice do we?
I can't even fathom.
How much spice do we put in there, and how do we package it?
Yeah.
And it turned out it needed to be exactly 8 grams. We had to buy it in a specific flavor. Like they had to have a certain formulation to meet, because we were in Sam's Club for a while and a couple big Vons and a lot of big stores, and they had specific requests about the formulation and how it was packaged. So we had to find a company that could not only mix it for us, but put it into these little pouches and without ever a human being touching it, because it needed to be, you know,
And then again, for you, that's like not the core business.
No, it was a whole different thing, and it took years to finally get it, and it never made money. I mean, it was always, we're always chasing our tail on it, but where it was worthwhile was, you know, you get thousands and thousands of these frozen bags with our story on it in people's freezers all over the country. So we're back and forth on what to do with that. There's a lot of different ways to go, but at the end, it's like doing these trays has been our primary focus, because that's what we're popular for.
How does it feel truly being like a landmark in Los Angeles? Because LA, look, you know the city, it's a world-class city. There's a million things to do in the city. There's a million amazing things, well-known things, famous things. And you're way down here in San Pedro, and literally 3,000 people at any given time here, probably.
I think we're kind of like for a long time, we were the most unknown success story in LA, because we're head down, butt up. We're I love this.
Wow. Okay.
We're just head down, butt up, working our asses off. And then we came out with our web series. Have you seen our web series? So we have our own web series called Kings of Fish. We're filming our 6th season right now.
Really?
We won a bunch of awards, and it's like we were about to launch this thing going, you know what would be cool is no one knows our story. The more I talk to customers, they think we're different people than we are and a different history. They thought this was all set like a big swap meet of seafood. They didn't realize it was a family-owned business.
That honestly, first time I came, that was exactly my thought.
And I started to notice in social media, as you're engaging with people, they don't know your story. And any part of the story people don't know, they fill it in with their own version of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, we had to tell our story. Yeah. We had a great story. So we brought in, we had a couple of experiences with TV with some of them was actually, I filmed the sizzle reel and tried to shop it around. It didn't work. But I looked at that going, well, can we just do this on our own?
Yeah.
Put our own team together. So we put some bids out. We chose a team. They do like a bar rescue and a bunch of big TV shows. They edit them, and we brought them in and said, we want to tell the story. And we won a bunch of awards. And
when did it come out? When was it released?
We started, I want to say it was 2018, 2017. I don't remember how many years it's been now.
And that was your brainchild?
It was my idea to do. I would say it was my idea, but I couldn't do it without everyone's help.
Well, of course.
But I realized we needed to do more to tell our story. And at the same time we were about to launch those episodes, we were on Time Magazine and CNN and Instagram as one of the most Instagram restaurants in the country.
I'm glad you brought that up. So that was unexpected.
A total surprise because we weren't even paying attention to our Instagram feed. We were focused on Facebook at the time. So I think that was 2017. So I might be wrong. Either 16 or 17 that summer is when we launched the series, and we got that ranking at the same time. And we were looking at it going,
how were you notified? You just saw it naturally, or did they
told us about it? You're like, did you see this? And I'm like, no, I wasn't paying attention. And what was interesting is it was totally organic, based on people geotagging themselves here and sharing it.
Yep.
And so I'm like, wow, I had just been to Katz's Deli in New York for a school trip with my kids,
Yeah.
And I had just met the owner. And I had no idea that we were going to be on this list. I think they were like 4 and we were 5 or something like that, or 3 and 5 or 2 or 5, whatever. We're in the top 5.
And look, let's call it what it is. Social media, blah, blah, blah. But that's a big deal, in this day and age. I'm a newspaper guy, but let's say LA Times writes an article, which is in theory this big deal, but realistically this top 10 Instagram list is a lot more impactful.
It was, and it was on CNN and Time Magazine. It was all over the place, and it happened I think 3 years in a row, and then I haven't seen Instagram do it since.
Probably because of COVID.
Yeah, well, could have been. I don't know. Just so we were doing the series, and we had this huge uptick in sales as a result of it that we weren't anticipating. And then we weren't sure what to do because we've actually lost 2 of our partners to COVID. So it's my dad and Tommy. My dad passed away 23 years ago. So me and my mom passed away right before the series was in production. So it was just me, my 2 brothers, and my sister running it on that side of the family. And on the other side of the family, Tommy, who's Cardew grad, both of his kids passed away in about less than a year apart.
Both COVID?
Yeah. So that was a big shock to us. We're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how do you move forward when a big chunk of the family's gone? On both sides in different ways.
It's terrible, yeah.
You think about it in the back of your mind, but you don't ever anticipate it's actually going to happen. So we weren't sure what to do with Kings of Fish because Tommy Jr., who passed away, was a really big part of it. He was kind of like he was actually kind of the comic relief of the series because he was one of the funniest people I knew.
Yeah.
But Pepsi came to us and said, we really like to help you do some more episodes. Yeah. And we're like, well, we've been footing the bill. If you want to help pay for it, that's great. So those should air in fall. They're in production right now, and they're fun, man. We've done some cool stuff. We've gone to Vegas. This episode, they go with our crab fishermen up in off out of Santa Barbara, Ventura area. Actually, go on the boat for a few days. So we've done some cool stuff.
Inside stuff.
We went out on there used to be, I don't even know if it's still there, but there was a sea ranch right off the coast where they were raising mussels. It was a really cool thing called the Catalina Sea Ranch. So we went out there one day with those guys, looked at how they harvest the mussels.
Where do you see this place in 10 years and another 40 years?
Well, so we teamed up with a company called Food Beast. They still do a lot of marketing stuff. We do a lot of work with them.
Yeah.
And they created a viral video to help promote Kings of Fish that brought in there's 30,000 customers in 10 days in March while it was raining. And I was even in town. I was actually at the seafood show, I think, in Boston. And the cops were calling, the police, port police, which are friends of ours, were calling, hey, Mike, what are you doing? We don't have enough people to handle the traffic this time of the year.
Dude, this parking. I know.
They had to close off the freeways and bring guys in that were on their days off. So we realized we couldn't turn that spigot off after it happened because there was the Instagram thing, the web series, and Food Beast's work all at the same time, and it brought us into a different level of sales. So where I'm going with this is we realized we got a third, we're the third generation with a fourth coming up.
Yeah.
Is a business large enough to support all one, two? It can't go any bigger than it is where it's at, and this area is all being redeveloped, and we're not sure where we're going to fit into that yet. So we started. I talked everybody into expansion. I'm like, we have a grill location that we've had for a million years in Wilmington, and it's got its own following of people that go to Wilmington from like, Dana Point and Beverly Hills and Malibu for their tacos. So let's take that concept, mix it with this brand, and open these little grill locations. We've opened 2 of them, but COVID shut them down. So we're still
What's it called?
We're rebooting. They're called the San Pedro Fish Market Grill.
Okay.
There's one in Harbor City. There was one in up in the hill in Rolling Hills Estates. Totally different demographics to test. Does this work in these different areas? And they're doing okay. They're actually starting to come back, so it's impressive. And then there was a Joe's Crab Shack right near where I live on Alamitos Bay, and I read that they were in bankruptcy. So I'm like, I wonder if we could get that one, because that could be a good replacement, or at least help if this one is affected during the redevelopment, because we really didn't know what was going to happen. And it turned out the landlord's like, it's yours if you want it. It's like, so it was a much bigger story than that, and it cost a lot of money, but we were able to open almost 500-seat restaurant right on the bay in Alamitos Bay in Long Beach, which is beautiful. It's right next, it's kind of near Ballast Point in that area. Yeah. Our second in PCH had just opened at the same time. But again, we opened 6 weeks later, it's COVID. So we're just now getting it back lined up and open. And it's actually,
that's the, let's say, the template for the future, if you will.
Yeah, we're looking at opportunities in Monterey right now. We're looking in Las Vegas.
We're actually Vegas was the thing that kind of like sparked that question. Where I'm like, there's some way to execute this kind of experience in Vegas.
There's a restaurant in Vegas that's kind of in the more the blue collar worker area. I forget the name of the city, but the guy the family that owned it, he was a customer. He goes, "Can I sell your fajitas on my menu? I'll buy the spice." Okay. Didn't really think anything of it. And my brothers went in there one day on a whim and got like a standing ovation from all the customers, because they were just selling a ton of these trays with our spice. I'm like, I guess there's people in here too.
Dude, so this is something that draws everybody, man. Like, I don't care. Like, again, LA, one of my favorite things about LA is like the diversity, and you get people, every socioeconomic class, every race, every persuasion. And this is kind of, I don't want to use the phrase of melting pot, but it really is, where you see, people rolling up their sleeves and just getting down.
This is like a very experiential. I mean, it was sort of intended like, hey, blue collar people need a place to go eat too. Yeah. And they like seafood and lobsters and crab, and they may not want white tablecloth. So we can answer the call of that. And we did, and it's done really well. Now it's like we're looking at how do we expand and grow. Without having to work harder, because we're all getting older and tired. And I got 3 daughters.
That's what the younger generations.
Yeah, I have 3 daughters. One just moved to New York, and she works.
She's like, I'm out. No fish for me.
She graduated SC and got her dream job in New York, so she's good. And my other 2 are more focused on song and dance, but they help with social media. Yeah, I mean, they're part of it, but
wow, that's real. That's real.
And then all the other like 4th generation kids, some are in the fish market, some are not, some are working here. One of them's doing all the IT for us now. Like they're kind of feeling their way.
Who's next in line though? Then you get a real.
Well, the thing is most businesses don't survive that transition from 3rd to 4th generation. So my main focus has been, how do we survive that? Is it bringing in outsiders? Is it giving the kids a different opportunity, or is it something totally different that I can't imagine?
It's funny. My wife's family owns a chain of restaurants in the Inland Empire. It's called Tio's. It's just 6 small, like, one step above taqueria, but not quite like sit down. And
I've seen those like somewhere.
Yeah, and it's Rancho Cucamonga, Fontana, stuff like that. But it's funny, none of the kids want to like take over the business. You know what I mean? They all have like different aspirations.
Yeah.
And
God
me,
bless them.
as an outsider though, I'm like, dude, you have this awesome opportunity.
Gold mine, right?
It's like amazing. Like, these were all immigrants that took it to this level. Imagine you growing up in this business, like with the knowledge that you have, college education, like what you could do with it. There's already 6. So you know that it's a successful concept. And they're like, you're a restaurant business. So and I know food is a different industry, but like,
that's the thing. It's like we looked at how many businesses have the amount of eyeballs we have, right? Because social media, marketing, entertainment, it's all eyeballs. And we've got millions of eyeballs. We have 2 million customers on average that are coming through right now for these locations, just where we're sitting. That's not the newer ones.
Awesome.
And we're like, what can we offer them?
Yes.
You know, what are they interested in? So we've got, you know, we're kind of becoming more like a multimedia company, right? So we've got the social media,
Because the
we've got the
brands.
series,
Yeah.
we've got our e-commerce offers, we're on Amazon. We have all these different things we do, and it's like, where can we kind of push it outside the four walls of the business without damaging the brand, actually expanding it? So that's what we're working on.
And still maintaining what you do and keeping the
Yeah.
quality high, keeping the fun experience, keeping people coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny. I was just talking to my buddy and telling him that I was going here to meet Mike,
Yeah.
the proprietor. And he was like, bro, he's like, my wife's family, he's like, every week they would go down there. They
No
were from
shit.
El Sereno, which is like East LA. And he's
Yeah.
like, just get on 110. It's like straight shot, dump off in San Pedro, fish
Yep.
market. He's like,
Yeah.
every weekend.
Yeah.
He's like, 4 people, 6 people, this side of the family, those, you know, the nieces, the cousins,
That's awesome.
the uncles. Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's a special thing that you guys
Yeah.
have. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of that. And I'm proud that I've been able to help carry it to the next generation, but it'll be up to the next generation on what they want to do. You know, the thing we're doing now is we're starting to look at recruiting companies where we can bring on outsiders that are professionals in the industry that could do things we don't know how to do.
it's interesting.
And, you know, some of them have been a great fit. Some of them are like, I thought this would be more organized. I'm like, me too. That's what I needed help with. We just brought in a new director of operations that's got
External?
a lot of, it's an outside company. He's been great though. He's really
Look,
a great fit for the company.
I think with something like this, you have to have a culture. I mean, like, look,
Yeah.
I just got here, but it feels like a culture-oriented place. This isn't something that an outsider could just like
No.
dive into and be.
Yeah, we had to find a company that could like study our culture and then go find the right person, which is, I wasn't sure that was going to work, but so far it's been great.
Awesome.
And I think that's really what I'm seeing happening is, you know, bringing in people that can help us. Because running one location is one thing. Now we're up to 6. Like running 6 locations is a whole different beast. It's
And
way
what are you
outside of
doing
our-
when you're in town? You just running around the whole time, or?
Yeah, I try to stay out of everyone's way because it's hard, right? Oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? And really the way I hold it is I trust you guys can figure that out. And if you can't, go to whoever you report to. And if you can't, then have them come to me and we'll figure it out.
It's funny.
It
Processes.
gets too
Processes are good and important, and staying organized ultimately. But look, man, where you get the organic culture, where you get I don't know, just the feel. Like you can tell there's no corporate at all
No,
here, and I mean
we don't
that is
want it
like
to
the
feel
biggest.
that way, yeah.
That's the biggest compliment though, because it's so just genuine.
It's authentic.
And look, you got a band, you got people, everybody's having fun. The food, and that's from people figuring it out.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
Totally.
You hire the right people, you empower the right people, and you trust the right people, and mistakes are going to be made. Look, mistakes are going to be made. That's just how it goes. But let me tell you,
But you got to own them and move past them.
in my series, more than not, when restaurants or organizations, the downfall happens as soon as they go corporate.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I don't
whatever
wanna do that.
happened to Orange Julius? Well, they were bought out by X and X Corporation.
Because you become a spreadsheet at that point.
Yes.
It's all numbers.
And
you got to
it's-
get the numbers right.
And it's like, dude, you lose
everything
the
else.
heart,
Yeah.
you lose the soul, you lose the culture, and like.
And we're like in the middle. Like we don't want to. There's a place where we do need to do some of that,
Yeah.
but we need to do it in a way that it doesn't lose the authenticity,
Yeah.
the flavor, the
Authenticity.
experience. And that's really what it comes down to.
That's
If it
the
looks
word.
like we want to be scalable so we can open, but we don't want to be scalable to where it's like, why am I only getting 4 shrimp on my plate? You know, if you go to a restaurant and you order a shrimp plate, you're going to get exactly the amount of shrimp they give you.
I know.
So like,
I
let
know.
the people choose the amount of shrimp they want, and charge it per pound instead of per plate.
Yeah.
And you'll do it in the volume. It's really not I don't even know what this would have cost because I didn't price it out.
Right.
But a lot of people will come in and they'll see like we're charging $20 or $30 a pound for something. Well, I can go to the grocery store and get that for $6 or $7. You could, but the grocery store is giving that away. 1, 2. You have to go home and cook it, which is fine if you want to do that. But here,
No.
if you look at what you're getting for
Yeah.
that $30,
Yeah.
it would cost you $30 for 4 shrimp. You're getting 20 or 30 or 40 of them.
And let me give you the recipe for this. Let me give you the seasonings for this.
Yeah.
You go by the ingredients and let's see you put this together. Come on.
Yeah, we're
like
happy to help with that,
Yeah.
but it's not ever the same. So, it's not even the same when I do it at my house. But it's funny because the new restaurants were like, everyone was complaining it didn't taste the same. I'm like, God, everything's the same. I really think it's not the recipe. 1, I don't think the grills are seasoned enough because they're new.
Yeah, that's right.
2, I just think the atmosphere is the same.
Look, I was gonna say, and people always say this, right? Like certain places, even if they haven't changed ownership, like it tastes different from when I was a kid. I was like, nah, that's your memory talking, man. Like you remember, you know, when you were young and innocent and had no bills to pay. Of course, it tasted better back then.
It was like going to Disneyland as a kid versus an adult. It's not the same Disneyland. That's how I kind of hold it. It's like I have visual experience of getting out of my parents' car, like 4 or 5 cars, right? We got out, so pumped up. You get on the tram, you get in the line, it's fun all day. Now I haven't been for years.
Same.
And I live close
here.
And I'm like, oh man, this line, this is longer than the line at work. I feel like I'm at work.
Dude, I'm telling you, like the thought of Disneyland almost gives me like.
Yeah, so some of the complaints we get on social media is like, I would never wait in a line like this except at Disneyland or here. It's like, okay, well, that's a compliment. I'll take that, man. Disneyland and seafood's all right.
Because like you said, when you're going back as a kid at Disneyland, I'm like, there were no lines. Like, parking, what? Parking? Like, I don't even remember. There was no problem.
I was just having fun.
Right. Ask your parents what parking was like.
I was just having fun.
But that was dope. Well, look, let's
bail.
wrap it up. No.